Hello everybody and welcome to my first ESO build guide on the channel. I decided to make this video and plan to make many more like it because people have been loving the Battleground highlights videos I've been putting out and been asking about the builds I've been running in them. This build, as you probably read in the title, is my Magicka Dragonknight build, which is featured in one of my previous videos, which I will link in the description below. But before I get into the build, there are just a few things I want to note. First, this build guide will not have the usual subtitles that I normally put in my videos because honestly, it's a lot of fucking work to put in the subtitles. And if I did that for these build videos, I would be editing for a month at a time. Secondly, I am not a pro ESO player by any means. I am about an average, I'm like somewhere between casual and hardcore player. So these builds in these videos may not be considered meta or top tier, but that's not the point. I like to come up with the builds and run them in PvP, and so far, it's been going pretty well for me, and it makes the game way more fun than just copying and pasting builds from players like Kevduit or Alakas. And finally, the build guide itself will not be scripted like this intro because quite frankly, I am not sure how I want to structure these build videos, so the first couple are probably going to be pretty fucking scuffed, so I apologize for that in advance. Now, without further ado, let's talk about this build. Alright boys and girls, let's get into this shit. So obviously, if you've watched the previous video that this build was featured in, you'd know that this build is a DPS build. If you haven't, as I said previously, it's linked in the description below, go check it out. But since this is a DPS build, you're going to max out that Magicka, all 64 points in the Magicka. And I also run Boon of the Mage, so that way I get that extra Magicka boost as well. So next we're going to move on to the skills that I use with this build. First thing you're going to want to do, just fucking put all the passives right away. For every class tree, get all your passives, get them out of the way. Because you're going to want and use all of them. Obviously you're going to want to use your racial skills, get all of those passives as well. With this build I run one light, one medium, and the rest heavy, so you're going to want to get the 3 light passives without the 5-piece bonus, the 3 medium armor passives without the 5-piece bonus, and then you're going to want all the heavy armor passives. So on your main bar, you're going to be running sword and board, so obviously max out all these passives, get them all. And on your back bar, you're going to be running destruction staff, so you're going to want to max out all your passives. Clearly, I don't have mine maxed out, but my channel revolves around me playing multiple characters and getting a lot of different builds out as fast as possible. So being able to focus on one character and get all the shit done that I need to is really fucking hard. So you want this capped, you want all the passives. So your front bar, that's going to be your main damage bar. Everything that you're going to do when you're in a fight is going to be on that front bar. So first you got your Molten Whip. This is going to be your main source of damage. You're going to just spam the shit out of it. And it puts out big deeps, big dick deeps, okay? That's what you want. Second, you got Burning Embers. This is a big one. It adds that 8,000 flame damage over 10 seconds, and it heals you when the effect ends, which is really big. That's going to help keep your health up, help keep you alive in the fight. One thing to note with this build is you are a vampire. I run vampire on it. There's probably ways you can run this build without it, but I like the vampire. I use it on a lot of my builds, so this is definitely something I would recommend for this build. But if you can find something that replaces these abilities, by all means, go for it. But for me, I have all my vampire passives slotted, all of them. Depending on how you play and how you feel, you're going to want to change what stage of vampirism you're in. But me personally, I run stage 4, and I have all the passives. So your third ability is going to be Invigorating Drain. So the thing with this ability is it restores more health based on how much you're missing. So if you're missing more, you're going to get a higher percentage of your health back. So it's really good when you're in a sticky situation and you're low in a fight. Sap that motherfucker with Invigorating Drain, and he's going to be stunned, so he's going to either have to stand break you, or you're just going to sit there and be able to get all your health back. So it's really good to run that on your front bar. Moving on, you got Hardened Armor. I run this version because I like to have the spell and physical resistance, as well as returning some of that magic damage to people attacking you. The damage shield is also super nice to have, so I definitely recommend this. Another good option would be Igneous Shield. If you're interested in running that instead, I'm sure it could work both ways depending on what armor you decide to run. The fifth ability on your front bar is going to be Shielded Assault. This is, like, I know this is a Magicka build, but this is going to be the way you initiate fights, because your back bar is a Destro Staff, so you're going to be back prepping yourself before going in. So this is really good to really close that gap and get you into the fight so you can use the rest of these melee abilities. Finally, you got Take Flight, and this is just big dick damage. That's really the only reason for it. It stuns the enemies when you hit them, but the damage is just unfucking real, so it's a great ult to run. You can clear gaps with it. It's awesome. Alright, moving on to the back bar. You're running Destro Staff here. This is something super important. Destro Staff is going to be your buff bar. It's going to just get you ready to get into the fight. So your first ability on your Destro bar is going to be Degeneration. You're going to apply this to anyone that you're picking out in the fight. It's going to heal you over time. It's going to increase your spell damage for 20 seconds, so you're going to have more damage as a result of having that active. You want to keep having that active for as long as you're in the fight. Next, you have Elemental Drain. Because you're running Sword and Board on your front bar, you're going to want this right here because it's going to give you that Magicka regen. You apply it to whoever you're fighting, they're going to take a big hit in spell resistance, so your abilities are going to do more damage, and as you're damaging them, you're going to get Magicka back, and it works really well with Degeneration because Degeneration is a DOT effect, so as long as both of these are running at the same time, you're going to constantly be getting that Magicka back. Next, you got Molten Armaments. This is just going to be the way to buff you and your team's spell damage. Make sure you have this going at all times. That is big because it's going to just up that damage an insane amount. And your heavy attacks are going to do 50% bonus damage. So if you're running low on Magicka, flip back to Destro Staff, pop this ability, and just hit him with heavy attacks, and it'll definitely get that Magicka right back up to where it needs to be, and you can get back in the fight. Next, you got Coagulating Blood. I run this because I'm a vampire, and I want that health recovery. I need that 20% health recovery to get myself back to max health and keep myself as high as possible. And when you're in a pinch, it is a great heal. You just keep spamming it, and you're going to just try and get as far away from the fight as possible, spam it, get your Magicka back, and then get back in. Your fifth ability is going to be Elusive Mist. This is a big one. This is how you're going to escape sticky situations. So with this, you're going to dissolve into a dark mist, and it's going to reduce the damage you take by 75% and increase your movement speed by 30% for 4 seconds. So you're going to get the fuck out of any bad situation with this ability right here. When you activate this ability, it also removes and grants immunity to all disabling and immobilization effects. So it's going to be great for just getting you the fuck out of fights. Use this as much as possible when you're low on health. My recommendation is if you're low, pop Coagulating Blood, use Elusive Mist, and just run. Run for the fucking hills. Finally, this was kind of a choice ultimate. I wasn't sure what to run on my back bar, so I decided with Devouring Swarm, which is the vampire ultimate. This is basically what you're going to do when you are just low on health and you don't have any pots active, you're low on Magicka. You are going to pop this right here. It's going to deal magic damage to enemies all around you, and the bats heal you for a ton of health for each time they damage an enemy. So this is really just your last resort survival ultimate. Otherwise, you'd want to keep just hitting them with Take Flight. Now, obviously, there's some other passives that I could be running here, but like I said before, I don't have a lot of time. I play many builds, and I get as many videos out as possible. So working on one character specifically to get all the passives possible is just not realistic for me if I want to keep putting out videos at the rate that I am. So I don't have certain passives, but definitely there are other things like Undaunted or for this build, Mage's Guild, that would be beneficial for me to have. I just haven't put the time into it on this character. One thing to mention is I clearly run this build on a Dark Elf. The reason I do this is because of the flame resist, and it's just huge because I run vampire abilities on the build, so I'm going to take a shit ton of flame damage. So having that flame resist is going to help dramatically. However, other races that would be able to run this build effectively would be Breton or High Elf. Alright, moving on. We have got Valkynscoria as our monster set for this build. The reason I run Valkynscoria on this build is because you do a lot of dot damage, and dot damage activates the meteor, which does a fuck ton of damage and some dot damage as well to anyone that has your DOT on them every 5 seconds. So it's definitely worth running just to get that extra boost of damage. Another set I run on this is Plague Doctors. I love Plague Doctors personally. I think it's essential for so many builds because it just gives you that insane amount of health without having to slot any ability points there and get away from your Magicka. So with this build, I was getting popped a fuck ton. I was getting just shit on left and right. I switched to Plague Doctor, and I get a ton of health, and now people just can't pop me as quickly as they could previously. It's super beneficial, and you're going to want to run 4 pieces of heavy Plague Doctor in this build. The other Plague Doctor piece is going to be in your jewelry. The final set that you're going to run in this build is going to be the Burning Spellweave set. This is big. When you deal damage with flame damage ability, you have a 15% chance to apply burning status effect to the enemy and increase your spell damage by 494 for 8 seconds. This effect can occur every 12 seconds. That right there is the key to running that in the build, because you are a Magicka DK. You are going to be doing shit tons of fire damage. So running this is going to proc that burn effect, and it's just going to increase your damage output dramatically. So what you're going to do is run one light piece of Burning Spellweave to get that light armor bonus, and then finish it off with jewelry. And I run one Burning Spellweave dagger, one Burning Spellweave shield, and then on your back bar, Burning Spellweave light. I have lightning staff. You can run Inferno staff. Either or works. Another thing to mention, I did not cover any of the enchantments or the traits on any of my armors. I strictly believe that those kind of things are left up to player preference. For me, I run shit that works for me. So if you're playing a high elf and you're taking a ton of fire damage because you're a vampire, add some flame resistant chance. Shit like that is just player preference. It's going to change depending on how you play the build. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to run this build on this world boss here, because none of my friends are actually online for me to duel and to let me just kind of attack a player and show how it works. So I got the closest thing to someone that can take a lot of damage in the open world without me having to ask some random guy to stand around for a while. So what you're going to want to do to start is get your magma weapons going and get coagulating blood running. Then you're going to want to place weakness to elements on the target and then activate degeneration. Close the gap with shield assault and then make sure burning embers is applied. At this point, you're just going to want to keep hitting him with lava whip until you run out of magicka or until a situation gets bad. If you're getting low on health, you're going to want to activate invigorating drain. This will stun your target and it'll just regen a ton of health. A great execute is take flight. You're just going to pound the enemy and do tons of damage. Keep it up. If you didn't kill them, you don't actually have an execute on the build, so just keep hitting them with lava whip until they fall. And when you're low like this, elusive mist. Get out of the fight as fast as possible. And you're going to want to take everything I just showed you and you're going to rinse and repeat it over and over until you get the outcome. It's not going to be something super easy to do right off the bat because this build is a lot of buff management. But follow that basic formula and you'll be fine. And there you have it, folks. That is the complete guide to my PvP Magicka Dragonknight DPS build. I hope this video is helpful for the people who are asking for me to make this video covering the build, as well as for people who are just searching YouTube for Magicka DK PvP builds. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Should I keep making build videos like this, or should I script out the entire video? But just let me know what you guys thought. I'm not sure how this video is going to turn out, honestly. One thing to cover before I close this video out is I want to talk about the Friday videos. These are videos like the build guide that will be coming out on Fridays because I didn't feel like it should be my normal Monday upload, or I was just really excited about something and wanted to get the video out as fast as possible, like the Fallout 76 video I put up last week, or the Necromancer Battleground highlights video I put up when Elsweyr dropped on PC. They are really just extra content that I work on when I'm not working on my main Monday uploads. These videos will not have any sort of fixed schedule. They will just be uploaded on whatever Friday follows when I finish editing them. So if you want to know when these Friday videos are going to come out, the best way to find out is my Twitter, because I always tweet when new videos come out or are coming out, or hitting the notification bell so YouTube will actually tell you when they release. But that is all I have for this video. If you guys liked it and found it to be helpful, be sure to leave a like and a comment. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.